John Maxwell, Law 11, it's called the Law of Trade-offs, and the idea is this: to go up, you have to give up. It starts off with John Maxwell saying, what will it take for you to go to the next level? Vision, yes, that's often preached about and spoken about, having a vision for your life, something that you're aiming at. Personal growth, of course, that's something important to develop yourself personally, consistently and continually. But what about when it comes to letting go of things? Letting go of things is the thing we don't like to talk about, but it's really what's going to take you to the next level. A biblical story to illustrate this is the rich young ruler. Remember the story in the book of Mark where Jesus saw the rich young ruler, and the rich young ruler came to Jesus and said, "What must I do to be saved?" And Jesus said, "Have you kept the commandments?" And he said, "Yeah, I've kept them all." And Jesus says, "Well, then go sell everything you have and give your money to the poor, and you'll have treasure in heaven, and then come and follow me." And it says that the rich man walked away sad because he had great many possessions. And then Jesus said something powerful. He said, it's easier for the camel to go through the eye of the needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. What was he saying? Jesus was essentially saying that this man was unable to follow Christ because he wasn't willing to give up his idols. He wasn't willing to give up what he cared about more than Christ. Therefore, he could not go to that next level because he wasn't willing to sacrifice. John Maxwell says this: when you're first starting out in your career, it's not very hard to give up to grow up. In fact, you're willing to give up everything for an opportunity. Why? Because your everything isn't much of anything. But what about when you've started to earn some things? A job you enjoy, a good salary, a home, a community you've become a part of, a level of security. Are you willing to give up those things for a chance at doing something that will take you closer to your potential? In other words, it's easy to take small risks, but a lot of times that next level of growth is going to be a more big risk for you to take. An example of this is also applicable to business growth. I remember when I wanted to grow my landscaping business, I had to make some expenses in order to properly have the right equipment. So at first, I bought a leaf blower that cost about $200. And I realized that the leaf blower was helpful, but for me to go to the next level, I would need, if I was going to take on more customers, I would need to buy a leaf blower that cost $600. I remember I bought a lawnmower that cost less than $1,000, and I could do a decent job with it, but I realized if I wanted to cut big fields and big lawns, I would need to buy a riding mower that cost about $4,000. So in the beginning, I had to put out just a little bit of money to start the business. But if I wanted to take it to the next level, I had to invest more money and better equipment, so it was even a bigger trade-off. And then eventually I had to buy a big trailer. I had to get a better truck in order to look presentable to customers instead of pulling up with the Green Monster. That was the nickname of my old truck. It was very piece of junk, really. And in order to go to the next level, I had to make bigger sacrifices financially. So how do you know if a trade-off is worth it? Good question. John Maxwell says this: ask yourself two questions. Number one, what are the pluses and minuses of this trade-off? Secondly, will I go through this change or grow through this change? Another truth about trade-offs is trade-offs often hurt immediately, but they bring success at a later time. Think about the trade-offs even in your spiritual life, right? If you want to invest in your relationship with God, you have to make a trade-off. You can't get closer to God and do nothing. That's why the Bible says faith without works is dead. So if you want to have a stronger faith in God, there's going to be a trade-off. You're going to have to sacrifice your time. You're going to have to sacrifice your focus, sacrifice your energy, sacrifice your routines. So I knew that when I wanted to get closer to God, I had to change how I spent time in the car. Before, I wasn't really using my time in the car intentionally. I was just playing whatever music I wanted. I was just listening to whatever came on my playlist. But I realized if I really want to maximize my time with God, I have to make a trade-off. I can't just listen to random stuff. I have to be playing Christian songs, Christian sermons, Christian playlists, Christian podcasts in order to really grow. I had to make a trade-off about how I spent my time in the car. Another principle in this chapter is that the higher the climb, the tougher the trade-off. Henry Kissinger said, each success only buys an admission ticket to a more difficult problem. So when you get higher in growth, guess what? The trade-offs get even harder. It doesn't get easier, it actually gets harder. You have to keep making that sacrifice. It's like a never-ending cycle. Here's some points that he makes. Number one, am I willing to give up financial security today for potential tomorrow? Number two, am I willing to give up immediate gratification for personal growth? Number three, am I willing to give up the fast life for the good life? Number four, am I willing to give up security for significance? Number five, am I willing to give up addition for multiplication? Here's the final question. What trade do you need to make right now that you've been unwilling to make? Most people settle in and learn to live with a limitation or barrier that can be removed by making a trade. What is the next thing you need to trade for, and what must you give up to get it? Reflect on that.